global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We have a trending and very serious news for us today, and it all borders on China and Nigeria. The Nigerians in diaspora, unfortunately those living in China, it has been confirmed that 72 of them have already tested positive to COVID-19. Now this is rather sad because with all the information we gathered, it looks as if that the Chinese government are now ready for Nigerians to be evacuated back to Nigeria. This is really sad because what we are seeing here is if what we are seeing in Nigeria is speculations, the real deal is about to enter Nigeria, which means I hope that the Nigerians situation will not look like that of Italy if the main deal comes in. But let's generally see what the news is all about. Say about 56 Nigerians whose test results were released on Tuesday were asymptomatic, leading to fears that they might have infected other people. According to reports, 16 other Nigerians have tested positive before the release of the result of the 56 on Tuesday, bringing the number to 72. According to Chinese authorities, 65 persons who had contact with the positive cases were being traced. The Foreign Affairs Office of Guangzhou Municipal People's Government disclosed this in a note, diplomatic correspondence to the Nigerian consulate in Guangzhou. The note, according to reports, also was copied to the Nigerian embassy in China as well as the Chinese embassy in Nigeria. The correspondence, written in Mandarin but translated to English, reads in part, according to the data by Guangzhou Municipal Health Commission, on April 21st, there are actually currently 16 confirmed cases and 56 positive test cases among Nigerian citizens in Guangzhou, as well as 65 cases of contacts. We invite the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Guangzhou to supervise Nigerian citizens in Guangzhou so they can also abide by the law of the People's Republic of China on the prevention and control of infectious diseases. Asian citizens understand Guangzhou's epidemic prevention and control. They also work and cooperate with China political support. The note verbal was actually written in Mandarin, and 56 Nigerians whose test results came out on Tuesday are part of the over 2,000 Nigerians in diaspora who have indicated interest in returning home. This is rather sad. When videos were coming in and out, if you can still recollect, some few weeks back when there was an outcry on the internet about the way Africans were being maltreated or treated in China, where some of them were quarantined, 14 days quarantining, and re-quarantining after 2 weeks and all that, going through tests. They insisted that some of these Africans should go through testing to confirm if they were COVID-19 positive or negative. Initially, the result keeps coming out that they were negative. At some point, our Nigerian ambassador had to go in and intervene. Some of them were not allowed, they were given restrictions. We were not allowed to go into restaurants to eat. Some of them were totally not allowed to stay in hotels. They could see some sort of racism, outplaying itself there. But it didn't end there. They kept on insisting that they need to be tested, retested. Now this is what I feel. I feel that during the process of testing, there's been this general belief, that that testing kit, there's that general belief that Nigerians and some other Africans, some other Europeans, some whites also came up with some videos, speculations going online that no one should be allowed, that you shouldn't allow yourself to be tested, that if you should, that particular time of the testing is probably when the COVID-19 virus itself is being introduced in your system. Well, as we've seen several videos insinuating that, saying that one shouldn't allow himself or herself to be tested. But unfortunately, they were in a dire situation. They found themselves locked down in China. Some of them actually went down to do business. Some of them went there to school, and a whole lot of persons, one reason or the other, that took them to China, and they were locked down. And the Chinese authority insisted that they have to go through testing. They kept on testing them, testing over and over again. Now, I feel that could this really, on my own, I feel, could there be some sort of conspiracy going on? Were they introducing the virus? Really, were they introducing the virus into their system to confirm if they would test positive? How come all of a sudden these guys have been on the quarantine, quote unquote, for a while now? They've self-quarantined, they've isolated them for a very long while. They've refused them, socialization. They've refused them even entry to hotels and all that, even restaurants. And all of a sudden, after so many weeks, running to months now, they are now testing positive, and they're now writing officially to the Nigerian embassy and the rest to look. About 72 members, your citizens, have already tested positive. Okay, we're going to allow them, but they should obey the rules and regulations of Chinese authority. And so out of that, 2,000 people in diaspora that have indicated interest of coming home. These 72 are actually in there. What it means is that for some of us who are doubting that is there COVID-19, despite one or two deaths, some say it is actually advanced malaria, and some say it is not true, that if it is real COVID-19, the level of deaths that Italy was recording back to back in thousands each day, we don't see that in Nigeria. So what we may be experiencing, quote unquote, will be a case of senior malaria and all that. I don't want to go into those details, but the fear now is, if what we're experiencing was child's play, the real deal is about to come in. Are we going to reject our own when they come in? Because if eventually there's a bit of a release, and like a few days ago, Kemi Onuloyo came online and said that she heard a lot of sounds in Abuja and all that was going on. That those living in Abuja, insisted that look, that there will be airplane coming in from time to time. That because she was saying that, why is there no lockdown? How come there's still airplane flying? The aviation guy had to come and correct an impression. Said, look, there's still some supplies coming in. Those are exigencies, essentials. If such is allowed, if such happens, that such is allowed to come in, you can always go in with our aircraft to bring in supplies as at when due. But other than that, there's social complete lockdown, except to take special permission from the right authority. So which also means invariably this is also another exigency, just like what happened to Air Peace, where he had to drive 14 hours aircraft just to get the Chinese doctors into 15-man Chinese doctor into Nigeria, and equipment just to help with the COVID-19 in Nigeria. Whether they're engineers or the medical doctors, we really don't care. But the most important thing is the fact that they brought them into Nigeria, and whatever purpose they were supposed to fill, they did it. And if that could happen in a lockdown, that means the government also have the power as well to evacuate their citizens in diaspora, of which these 72 out of the 2,000 has indicated interest. Yes, we have the policies already on ground saying that as soon as you come into Nigeria, you'll be quarantined for 14 days. Agreed. No doubt about it. Now, if these 72 are going to be in the aircraft, of which about 2,000 are going to come in, they're probably going to come in batch by batch. Imagine those 72 already in that same airline aircraft with those who are not, carriers. By default, they have become, susceptible. That means all the people in the aircraft will be quarantined, including the pilots and the crew. Which also means by default also they've been exposed. It has increased. Now imagine them being quarantined for 14 days and 1 or 2 escapes due to our negligence. We begin to see that those rainfall type of death, those heavy massive death that occurred in Spain, in Italy, where you get to see 1,000, 2,000 a day die. And with the level of antisocial distancing we have in Nigeria as of now, but the level of hunger and insecurity going on in Nigeria, I don't know. The first one, people believe that maybe just senior brother to malaria, that is in Nigeria. Now, if this, with all the testing and retesting they were doing constantly on those Nigerian citizens living in China. It was a constant thing. They kept on testing and retesting. You now ask the question: the first test you did, the 14 days quarantine and testing you did, what happened to it? Why are you not using the result? After that, they will still say, okay, they insisted again. They must go through another 14 days quarantine, and they must also go through so many tests. You begin to wonder, what were the tests for, really? Why were they singled out? What were others given freedom to move and they weren't? If there were issues with their result, why didn't they announce it there and then? Why now? Which means I feel that some sinister movement must have taken place during that period, and now they're willing to let Nigerians come home. God will need to help us in this situation, because I don't know how ready our medical team are, but if the real deal ends, I'm talking about the one right from China, where it was gotten from initially, is now being brought in form of our brothers. I suspected this at the beginning. What is going on? If they bring the real deal through our brothers, are we going to reach out our own brothers? I don't think we should, because they're actually Nigerian citizens. Last time we checked, they're still Nigerian citizens. Imagine they're now being brought home, okay? And with all the crew members and the pilot all now compromised. What will be our fate? That's why we're going to round up. What do you think about this latest development of the fact that 72 people already in China, Nigerians in China who are willing to come home, are already tested positive to COVID-19 based on Chinese authorities testing and finding, which means that already they are compromised and they are willing to come back home. What's the take? Let's go to a comment section. What do you think about this latest development, and what would you do if you are in the position of authority? Let's interact in our comment section. Don't also forget to like and share and also subscribe. Stay tuned for more.